What a day it was for the Houston Astros. It started with the Justin Verlander trade and then culminated with the 16th no-hitter in franchise history, the first ever thrown by a left-handed pitcher, which is remarkable that it had taken the Astros this long for a lefty to throw a no-no. But you could not have asked for a more perfect day if you are an Astros fan. You get Justin Verlander, who bolsters your chances of winning another World Series, and you get the old Framber back. It was a tough month of July for Framber Valdez. He had an ERA of 7.29 in July. And the calendar turns to August. You're hoping Framber Valdez will turn things around. And how about that for a bounce back? After one of the worst starts of his career, where he gave up 6 runs in just 3 2/3 innings against the Rangers in that series finale last week, he delivers a freaking no-hitter. If that's any sign for what August is about to be like for Framber and for the Astros, yeah, buddy, the rest of the league should be on notice because the Astros are coming. It was a glorious start to the month of August for this Houston Astros ball club.
No question about it. And when you think about it, the fact that you get Verlander, and we had conversations yesterday on the show, all right, is Verlander now automatically starting game one? Because Framber hasn't been good of late, and we said, well, we'll see who's pitching well when we get to that point. It's almost like Framber heard that and was like, oh, yeah, Verlander's back? Guess what? I'm still the ace. I'm still the guy that went out there and had a chance to start the All-Star game if Dusty would have let me. I'm still the guy that closed out Game 6 of the World Series last year to help us win another championship. So, I really think the way it played out is just so fitting, right? Because we questioned Framber, and then on the day they reacquire Verlander, he goes out there and makes baseball history.
Yeah, that's hilarious that we talked about that yesterday. And I think you're right. I think Framber was maybe on a little bit of a mission to show that he is the real ace around here now. And he is the ace of the 2023 Houston Astros until proven otherwise. The Astros let Justin Verlander walk in large part because they felt like they had a true ace in Framber Valdez. And they did. I mean, Framber finished top 5 in AL Cy Young voting last year. The guy was one of the best pitchers in the game a season ago. And the Astros felt like Framber could have taken another step. And outside of that month of July, which was not very good, Framber Valdez has taken that step. He has been even better this year than he was last year. He's been so much fun to watch. So, yeah, he sent the message that, hey, for this year's team, I am the ace of this ball club. And now it's just so much fun to think about having that 1-2 punch again, Jake. The order might be different, but you still have Framber and Justin Verlander as your 1 and 2 going into a series, but especially going into a playoff series when you get there.
Yeah, no doubt about it, right? Like Framber Valdez doing what he does, just gives you that confidence once again that, that greatness is still in there. And I don't think anyone was truly panicking about Framber because he's got the pedigree, he's got a track record to fall back on. But his last couple starts going in were not great. We talked about it yesterday. We talked about it. They talked about it even during the broadcast, how this seemingly came out of nowhere. But now you start to picture an Astros playoff rotation with Verlander and Framber. And then there's the healthy debate on what do you do at 3, what do you do at 4, and the 6-man rotation possibility now to get these guys some extra rest and keep them fresh down the stretch. Like, you just feel so different about the complexion of this team and their chances of winning another World Series after a day like yesterday. Like, it was an emphatic statement by Framber following an emphatic trade by Jim Crane in the front office to reacquire Justin Verlander.
That start last night was magnificent. I mean, Framber not only threw a no-hitter, but he also faced the minimum, right? He had 1 walk in the 5th inning, and he erased it with the double play immediately after. So it was 27 up and 27 down for Framber Valdez last night. He also did it in 93 pitches. They call that a Maddox. When you throw a shutout on fewer than 100 pitches, that's what Framber did last night, in addition to not giving up a single hit. And his stuff was just ridiculous last night. That curveball, which was struggling. He didn't have the same command that we're used to seeing from him throughout the month of July. And last night, he had people looking silly up there. And he threw it a lot. 45% of Framber's pitches last night were curveballs. Only 37% were sinkers. It's the first time this season that Framber has thrown more curves than sinkers. Jake, I got a hunch it won't be the last. The sinker was also elite last night, too. And when that pitch is on, it's one of the best pitches in baseball, and that's why Framber Valdez has turned into an elite ground ball pitcher, is he can just get guys to pound stuff into the ground when that sinker is working. We saw that a lot last night. But when the sinker and the curveball are working like that, Framber is damn near unhittable. And it's not like the Guardians are an awful baseball team. Like, they're right there in contention in the American League Central. They are fighting for their playoff lives right now. They've had a decent season, and they've got some quality bats in that lineup. The fact that Fromber was able to do it to this team makes it even more impressive. So, yeah, just yesterday as a whole really provided a jolt to the team and a jolt to this fan base. And I thought confidence was pretty damn high around here going in to the month of August. It's maybe at an all-time high right now with everything that went down yesterday.
Yeah, no question, right? You just, once again, I guess the kids would say the vibes, BK. The vibes around the Astros feel so different compared to how they felt prior to yesterday. Because this year, there's been injuries, there's been some unfortunate luck. It hasn't felt like a vintage Astros season. And you look at the standings, here are the Astros on Wednesday, August 2nd. They're not even in first place. Now, they might be by the end of the day, but the Houston Astros are not technically in first place on this day. And in the past, you get to August, and it's like, well, the division's already wrapped up.
Yep.
They have a double-digit lead or certainly close to it. So it hasn't felt like your typical Astros year. But yesterday was like that reminder that, this team's still going to go for it. Like, this team still has championship pedigree. And you added a guy in Justin Verlander, who obviously is the very definition of that championship pedigree, being on both of those World Series teams and being a guy that you trust in a big spot, being a guy that could lead the rotation and allow you to probably take some pressure off the other guys in that rotation. Like, that's the other thing. I think Verlander makes you better because he's really good, but I think he also makes you better because he kind of now allows everyone to be slotted maybe where ideally you'd want them to be slotted in your rotation.
Yeah, and he's a great leader for the other guys in that rotation. I think he can impart his wisdom on the other guys in that Astros pitching staff as well. So you get that extra benefit maybe off the field that Justin Verlander is going to provide. But yeah, this gives the Astros the ability to go to that six-man rotation that you were talking about. It gives the Astros the ability to not have to throw Brandon Bielak or Ronel Blanco out a whole bunch more throughout the rest of the season. And it's not only the depth, but you also get some ridiculous top-end talent. I mean, JV's not quite prime JV anymore. He hasn't had the same season this year as he did last year, but he's been money as of late, and we all around here know what that dude is capable of. So yeah, he's going to make life easier for everyone in that pitching staff, but not only that, just for everybody on the team as a whole. And I don't think it's a major coincidence that what Fromber did last night happened on the same day the Astros reacquired Justin Verlander. I think that might have provided a little bit of spark to everybody in that locker room. And man, what a fun day it was, without question.
Just dominant performance, man. Like, just 93 pitches. He faced the minimum. I mean, he only had one walk, so he was one walk away from a perfect game. The walk happened in the fifth inning. Like, there are no hitters, and then there's what Fromber did, right? Like, there are no hitters where guys have plenty of walks in the game. Or there's been no hitters before in baseball history where there's been runs that have scored, right? But, there wasn't a hit that was given up. Like, this was a dominant performance by Fromber Valdez. This was, the Fromber Valdez that every Astros fan saw in the first half of the year, that saw in the playoffs last year. So that's so encouraging. And, man, the Astros just have a knack for throwing no-hitters, huh? I mean, How many is it now since 2015? It's a lot, man. It really is.
They've thrown 5 no-nos in the last 5 seasons. That includes the playoffs. That's the most no-hitters by any team over any 5-year span in MLB history.
It just seems like this always happens. Yeah. It does.
And you go back to the beginning of the Houston Astros franchise in 1962, and no team in baseball has more no-hitters than the Astros since 1962. Yesterday was the 16th in team history, and since 1962, nobody else has that many. And another fun stat about Fromber's last night, no pitcher in the 21st century. You got to go all the way back to David Cohn in 99 to find a pitcher who has thrown a no-hitter on fewer pitches than Fromber Valdez last night. So, usually managers will let pitchers up the pitch count a little bit, throw more than 100 pitches if they've got a no-no going, and sometimes you have that debate of, should I let my guy go? Is he going to tire out his arm? But also it's a no-hitter. What do I do here? Now, Fromber was so economical last night that nobody even got up in the Astros bullpen. Like, there was no decision that Dusty Baker or the law firm of Miller and Murphy had to make in regards to Fromber Valdez. He was just so freaking good. He was getting ahead of just about everybody. His stuff was right, that there was no decision. There was no debate. It was just a night off pretty much for Dusty Baker. He filled out the lineup card, and that's kind of all he had to do because Fromber Valdez took care of the rest. So, like you said, there are different levels of no-hitters. They're all incredibly impressive. There's no denying that. But this was one of the more impressive no-hitters that you will ever see.